Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. US President Donald Trump to host his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan at the White House, with deals worth over $50 billion on the table, spanning advanced fighter jets, Boeing planes, and energy trade. China announces it will host North Korea's foreign minister from the 27th to the 30th of September, just weeks after its leader Kim Jong-un took part in a grand military parade in Beijing. Denmark says it will revamp its ability to detect and neutralize drones after back-to-back airspace violations forced airport closures twice this week. Apple asks the European Union to scrap its landmark digital competition law, claiming it creates bad experience for its consumers. Brussels insists the law will make Europe's digital sector fairer and more open. And the Philippines braces for severe tropical storm Bualoy just days after the super typhoon Ragasa killed at least 9 people. Authorities shut schools and ground flights in the north, with the storm expected to hit Luzon later this week. Hello and welcome. We begin our show today with an apparent race to woo high-skilled Indian migrant workers that followed the Trump administration's changes in the H-1B visa program. European nations like Germany and the UK are now trying to court Indian talent. Starting with Berlin, German ambassador to India, Dr. Philipp Ackermann, invited skilled Indians to work for Europe's largest economy.
The average Indian working in Germany earns more than the average German working in Germany. And that's pretty good news. Because a high salary means that Indians are contributing big time to our society and our welfare. We believe in hard work and we believe in giving the best jobs to the best people. Our migration policy works a bit like a German car. It's reliable. It is modern, it is predictable. It will go in a straight line with no zigzags. And you don't have to fear a full brake at a top speed. We do not change our rules fundamentally overnight. Highly skilled Indians are welcome in Germany.
The German ambassador seemed to be taking a dig at the Trump administration, saying Germany has stable migration policies. This is in contrast to the Trump administration's recently announced $100,000 fee hike on H-1B visas that allows companies to sponsor skilled foreign workers. Last year, Germany pledged to issue 200,000 professional visas in 2025, out of which 90,000 were earmarked for Indians. Now, this marks a dramatic increase from the previous cap of 20,000. Germany has around 130,000 Indian professionals living and working there, with earnings far above the local median. Now, another European nation trying to woo skilled Indian workers is the UK. It is reportedly looking to reduce the visa fees for top global talent. The British government is reportedly also discussing options to scrap visa fees completely for applicants from the world's top 5 universities or for those who have won prestigious prizes. However, just like the US H-1B visa policy, the British government's focus also lies with high-skilled professionals. The UK takes in foreign workers through the Global Talent Visa, introduced in 2020. The change in UK policies came against the backdrop of stricter immigration rules launched by the Keir Starmer government. The stringent measures led to a sharp fall in visa applications from Indian students and workers. These measures included reduced duration for post-study work visa and increased the qualification period for permanent residency to 10 years, among others. Now, the Trump administration's H-1B visa system overhaul seemed to have triggered a global race to attract high-skilled Indian workers. The dream to work in the US may not be the most viable one for Indians now, but at the pace with which other countries are attracting skilled force, Indian workers may soon have plenty of options to choose from. And for our next story, let's talk about Syria's president. For the first time in 60 years, a Syrian leader has spoken at the United Nations. Ahmed al-Sharaa, once an al-Qaeda leader, debuted in New York. His speech was met with applause abroad and celebrations at home. Al-Sharaa's entry at the UN was historic. Syria had the last head of state speak here in 1967. Now, a new president stood before world leaders and said, "Syria is back."
The previous regime has killed about 1 million people, tortured hundreds of thousands, displaced about 14 million people, and destroyed almost 1 million homes above the heads of its inhabitants. I pledge to bring to justice all those who have shed their hands in the blood of innocent people.
Al-Sharaa rose to power after toppling Bashar al-Assad last December. Until last year, he had a US bounty on his head. He once led Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a group listed as a terrorist by the West. In July, the US removed that designation, paving the way for diplomacy. Now, sporting a dark suit and a tie, al-Sharaa blasted Israel during his speech. He said Israel's continued attacks are not just a risk to Syria, but to the entire region. He condemned Israeli strikes on Syrian soil. Sharaa told the world Israel's hostilities contradict international calls for peace.
In the same context, the Israeli threats against our country have not subsided since December 8th to this day, and the Israeli policies are acting in a way that contradicts the international position that supports Syria and its people. It's an attempt to take advantage of the transitional stage which subjects the region to enter into new conflicts that no one knows where it will end.
Then he turned to sanctions. He called them shackles that punish Syrians and demanded they be lifted. Sharaa said they block trade, cut access to medicine, and deepen poverty. And that's what his appeal was. Lift them so that Syria can heal. In June, President Donald Trump effectively removed most of the US sanctions on Syria. But certain measures still remain, like the Caesar-Syrian Civil Protection Act.
Most of the sanctions are being removed, but there's a Caesar law that was imposed on the previous regime. This law is related to the pictures of the prisoners. The law is related to the Congress, and most of the members are being directed to lift the sanctions. We are waiting to see the consequences.
Next came rebuilding. In his speech, al-Sharaa highlighted the reforms that he had undertaken since he came to power. He spoke of how he plans to hold elections and forming new institutions. He spoke of encouraging investment and restoring dignity. The response inside Syria was striking. Crowds gathered in public to watch him on big screens. They cheered, they danced, and they lit fireworks. For many, it was proof that Syria is no longer isolated.
I have a lot of respect for him for ending Syria's isolation from the world. It's a wonderful thing. I am so happy to be watching this here in the square. And my sister traveled to New York from Montreal just to show her support.
I'm here today because this is the first time in almost 60 years that a Syrian president speaks at the UN and represents us. We've been denied that for 60 years. We've even been denied gatherings like this one. Our parents and grandparents would have never thought this would have been possible.
But challenges still remain. For example, sectarian clashes. There are deep political questions that he must find resolutions to. Will minorities like the Alawites, Druze and Kurds feel protected? Will opposition groups be allowed to take part in elections? And will war crimes from years of conflict ever be addressed? The answers to these questions will take months or probably years. But even so, Sharar's appearance at the UN makes one thing clear: how quickly Syria's image is shifting from war and isolation to an active player on the world stage. Ahmed al-Sharar's UN debut was more than a speech. It marks Syria's return to global diplomacy. But it also raises expectations. The world is watching closely to see if his promises of unity become reality. At the ongoing United Nations General Assembly session in New York, a two-state solution to resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict has been in focus. For decades, while there has been a debate on it, another West Asian country has been taking notes. We're talking about Yemen. The president of Yemen's Southern Transitional Council, or the STC, Idris al-Zubaydi, has reportedly said that Yemen too needs its own two-state solution. Now, speaking to The Guardian on the sidelines of the UNGA, al-Zubaydi also warned that there is currently no prospect of dislodging the Houthis from power in North Yemen. He added that the reality on the ground is that there are two states, militarily and economically, and that a two-state solution is the best path to stability for Yemen, which is the Arab world's poorest nation.
The best solution for Yemen and the best path to stability is the two-state solution, whether by referendum or agreement. The reality on the ground is that there are two states militarily and economically.
The STC is a dominant force in Aden and large part of Yemen's south. It has always advocated separation for the south. Yemen is not new to the two states division. Between 1967 and 1990, it was divided in two: the Yemen Arab Republic in the north, with Sana'a as the capital, and the Communist People's Democratic Republic of Yemen in the south, with Aden as the capital. The two states reunited in 1990. In 2011, Yemen, along with other West Asian and North African countries, witnessed the Arab Spring protests. Gulf leaders worried that the protests would spill over, so they brokered a deal that saw long-standing President Ali Abdullah Saleh deposed and replaced by President Abdurrahman Mansur Hadi. But in 2014, Saleh threw his weight behind the rebellion by the Iran-backed Houthis. The Houthi rebels seized Sana'a, and this triggered a devastating civil war which displaced over 4.5 million people. In 2015, amid fears of Iran seizing the Aden port, Saudi Arabia launched major airstrikes targeting the Houthis. The Houthis hit back at Saudi Arabia and vessels in the Red Sea using drones and missiles. The fighting between the Iran-backed Houthis in the north and the Hadi government in the south continued for years. The ceasefire only came in 2022. Yemen remains divided between north and south, but it is considered a unitary state by the international community. At the UNGA, the STC president, Idris al-Zubaydi, said that there was no prospect of removing the Houthis through bombing alone, and there was little hope of a political settlement. The Houthis, backed by Iran, have continued to escalate their attacks in the Red Sea and even on Israeli ports and cities. In May, the United States abruptly ended its bombing campaign on the Houthis, handing over the task to Israel. Since then, the Houthis have repeatedly been hit by heavy Israeli bombardment. Last month, the Houthi Prime Minister and most of his cabinet were killed in Israeli bombing. However, there are still not enough signs of continued Israeli offensive destabilizing the Houthi leadership. The latest attacks by the Houthis are proof of this. On Wednesday, at least 20 people were injured in a Houthi drone attack on the Israeli resort city of Eilat. The Houthi drone bypassed Israeli defense systems. Houthi attacks have worsened Yemen's economy as the south faces difficulty in exporting oil. Now, this has made Yemen dependent on Saudi Arabia for income. Riyadh and the UN say the goal is to protect the 40 million Yemenis in one country. But this seems plausible only in two situations. One, a military defeat of the Houthis, which looks unlikely for now. And two, a power-sharing political settlement between the Houthis and the south. But the Iran-backed group has shown little or no interest in any negotiation. So, is a breakup of Yemen the only solution to bring back peace and prosperity? And moving on, 5 years ago in 2020, India's Chandrayaan-1 mission had found that moon is rusting. Now, scientists have determined whose fault it is. And surprisingly, the fault is all Earth's. Now let's break down what that really means. New research shows that particles from our Earth's atmosphere are traveling all the way to the moon and reacting with its minerals. The result is the formation of hematite, which is essentially lunar rust. Now, hematite, or moon rust, forms when oxygen reacts with iron-rich minerals. But the moon barely has any oxygen. So how is rust forming on our Earth's only natural satellite? The answer lies in what researchers call earth wind. About 5 days each month, as Earth blocks the sun, the moon is mainly exposed to this earth wind. And during this period, molecules of oxygen escape our atmosphere and drift toward the moon. The oxygen from the Earth then reacts with iron on the moon's surface, creating hematite. To test this phenomenon, scientists recreated earth wind in the lab. They fired high-energy oxygen and hydrogen at iron-rich minerals similar to those found on the moon. Now, oxygen ions transformed the minerals into hematite, and the experiment confirmed that earth wind is capable of rusting the moon. Since 2020, when India's Chandrayaan-1 mission reported the presence of lunar rust or hematite, scientists were puzzled on where exactly it came from. They suspected the rust-causing oxygen was coming from Earth, and that suspicion has now been confirmed. The discovery shows how the Earth and the Moon are connected in ways we didn't realize. The Moon acts as a kind of chemical diary, which is preserving a record of the interactions with our planet. Now, future missions to the Moon hope to bring back lunar hematite samples to trace exactly how much oxygen on the Moon comes from the Earth to form this lunar rust. Now, beyond the science, the findings remind us that even space isn't completely isolated. The Earth is leaving its mark on the Moon quite literally, turning parts of it rusty. And every month, as the Moon passes through the earth wind, these chemical changes continue, slowly shaping its surface. So next time you look at the Moon, remember, it's not just a lifeless rock. It's almost like a mirror of Earth reflecting particles and chemistry from our planet, a cosmic connection written in rust. And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT. Only on Firstpost.